You ask why we must cleanse the xenos. I will tell you. The filth of the alien and the witch must be exterminated to preserve the purity of the human race, lest we degenerate into abomination. From Witch Hunter Tyrus at the Conclave of Vera. Tyrus is a witch hunter inquisitor of the Ordo Hereticus, and the staunch follower of the mono-dominant philosophy of the Inquisition, a bombastic man whose bloody purges have left thousands of heretics dead in his wake. Suspicious of all psykers, even those supposedly cleared by the Inquisition, it is Tyrus's creed to hunt down and exterminate every witch, mutant, and warlock in the galaxy. If, along the way, this means eradicating those who would seek to protect such abhorrent creatures, then so be it. Tyrus is also perhaps one of the most active inquisitors with regards to internal policing of the Inquisition, ferociously hunting down those whom he deems heretics within the ranks of his own organization. The young Tyrus was orphaned when he was a mere 6 summers old, when demons came to his homeworld of Loressa, an isolated agri-world in the Segmentum Obscurus. Acting insidiously through an adolescent girl whose miraculous powers of healing had cured many people from Tyrus's village, the demon prince Koloth the Excoriator spread a plague of mutation across the planet. This weakened the fabric of reality enough for him to force his way from the Imperium into the girl's unprotected mind. In its new guise, the demon destroyed Tyrus's village and began the slaughter of its inhabitants in an orgy of mutilation. Tyrus himself was dragged from his home into the village's main square, where the inhabitants' corpses lay in a heaped pile. Over the next few solar hours, Koloth tortured him, taking an eye and slicing off an ear, that he might still hear his own screams and witness the destruction of his own flesh. As the leering young girl explained precisely what horror she would next visit upon his body, Tyrus despaired and prepared for death. Only the timely intervention of witch hunter Kovonis, who had tracked the demon to Loressa via the Emperor's turret, saved his life. The turret had guided the servants of the Emperor for 10 millennia, and though the significance of its readings are often obscure to the point of becoming meaningless, its holy instruction is said to be imbued with the Emperor's own will. Such seems to have indeed been the case, as Kovonis, clad in a massive suit of elaborately tooled armor, intricately carved with decorative scrollwork and fluting, materialized with 4 grey armored angels of destruction in the village square. The demon girl paused in her gruesome handiwork and turned to face the witch hunter, a hiss of recognition escaping her possessed lips. Through a red haze, Tyrus saw the mighty figure of Kovonis and his armed brethren do battle with the demon girl. 3 of the angels of death were cut down with bolts of blue fire before Kovonis swung his blessed sword in a glittering arc and beheaded the shrieking demon. Whirlwinds of demonic energy howled around the combatants as the creature was banished back to the hell from whence it came, and Tyrus watched as one of the angels burned the corpse in the cleansing fire of its weapons. Tyrus almost blinded by pain and blood loss, staggered to the edge of the blaze, his skin blistering in the infernal heat, and spat his hatred into the flames. He cursed the demon's name, and, as an armored gauntlet settled on his shoulder, he looked up into the stern features of Kavonis and knew that there was only one path open to him now. He became Kavonis' apprentice and acolyte and journeyed back to the orbiting starship from which Kavonis and the Grey Knights had teleported. He assimilated the wonders of advanced technologies and the ways of the witch hunter with a zeal only the truly dedicated can master. He was gifted with cybernetic replacements for his missing eye and ear, and his new master instructed him in the path of the witch hunter, the tools and methods at their disposal, and lastly, the heresy of the demonic. Never before had his master known an acolyte to master the rites of detestation so quickly, or one whose pious devotion matched his own. As the Tyran years of intense training passed, Tyrus grew to manhood with his hatred of demons and those who would consort with such creatures growing stronger with each passing day. He mastered weapons, martial skills, and the rites by which the demon could be vanquished. Such was his strength of devotion to the immortal God Emperor that his word alone could stay the hand of a demonic creature and cause it to reel in pain at his fiery zeal and faith. Many base and repulsive creatures of the warp were destroyed by Tyrus and his master, until a fateful battle during a royal audience on the world of Epsilon Regalis. The Emperor's turret had led Kavonis and Tyrus to the palaces of Regalis great and mighty in search of deviancy. The monarchy of Epsilon Regalis protested their innocence, but Kavonis was adamant. They would face the trial of the Holy Seal. Into the palms of each member of the royal family, he placed a featureless wax tablet and heated an inquisitorial seal. When the seal glowed with heat, Kavonis explained, he would press it into the wax upon each of their palms. Those whose flesh was burned would know the full wrath of the Inquisition, while those whose skin remained unblemished would have their innocence displayed for all to see. As Kavonis pressed the seal into the first outstretched hand, the features of the king's daughter split apart into the leering face of a demon. Worse, it was a demon Kavonis knew, Koloth the Excoriator. In an instant, the demon was free and dealt a mortal blow to the venerable witch hunter. As he fell, the last vestiges of humanity were cast from the faces of the captives, and the demons were free. Tyrus quickly swept up Kavonis' power knife and set about himself with terrible fury and righteous anger, his heart burning with vengeance. The lesser thrall demons in Koloth's service were no match for him, and at last he and Koloth stood face to face, the sole figures left standing in the gore-spattered audience chamber. The two enemies fought a duel that had been 5 solar decades in the making, and almost killed the witch hunter's apprentice. Bellowing words of holy purity that a demon is forbidden to withstand, Tyrus fought with the strength of the Emperor. The bitter foes traded blows, each grievous enough to fell a lesser being. Sheer force of will kept Tyrus standing, and as he grappled with the demon, sermons of piety and devotion spilling from his lips, he punched Kavonis' weapon through the demon's chest, dragging out its still beating heart, crushed it in his gauntleted fist. The demon grinned as it died, spouting blasphemous oaths that promised the witch hunter that they would meet again, and that it had already watched him die 1,000 times. Suspecting the corruption of the royal family extended to the planet's population, Tyrus launched a bloody purge of the surrounding cities that saw tens of thousands burned at the stake to ensure the purity of Epsilon Regalis. He took his master's suit of artificer armor as his own and repaired the damage which the demon had wrought on its holy fabric. Kavonis' masters elevated Tyrus to the status of witch hunter and granted him the full remit of an Imperial Inquisitor. If his experience with Kavonis had taught him anything, it was that there was only room for one species in the galaxy, and that was humanity. His purges of aliens, heretics, and warlocks have become famous even amongst other Puritan Inquisitors. A fierce mono-dominant, Tyrus' quest to exterminate heresy, witchcraft, and alien influence has carried him from one side of the galaxy to the other, his rousing orations fanning the flames of zeal and faith on every planet he purges. After the Gland War, Dantis III against the Tyranids, Tyrus recruited Sergeant Stone as an acolyte, an Astra Militarum veteran who was one of only 3 survivors of a bionically altered company of the Lostock 23rd. Stone's aggressiveness and devotion to duty made him an ideal member of Tyrus' retinue. During the treachery of Hanuchek, Tyrus joined forces with devotee Malakant, a disciple of the Redemptionist faith spawned on Necromunda, who led his fanatical army on a holy crusade. The battle to destroy Hanuchek all but annihilated Malakant's followers, and at its conclusion, the Redemptionist gladly accompanied Tyrus in his purges. In pursuit of the heretic Inquisitor Liechtenstein, Tyrus journeyed to the world of Caris-Cephalon, where he recruited the security enforcer Barbaretta. Her help in investigating the mutant uprisings, which Tyrus believed might have been sponsored by emissary Fabian, was invaluable, and she has proven to be a worthy addition to the witch hunter's retinue of acolytes. He continues to pursue the unholy, purge the unclean, and smite the unworthy. It is his sacred task to bring the fire of the Emperor to those who need it most and destroy those who would see its light dimmed. His reliance on methods first used thousands of Terran years ago is reassuring to many people who see the guilt or innocence of his subjects determined by the will of the Emperor himself. Tyrus is a great believer in many of the more arcane and religious trials and ordeals employed to judge the guilt or innocence of those he investigates. One of the more popular of these is the trial by balance, in which a droplet of the accused person's blood is placed on a set of finely tuned scales opposite the same amount of water blessed by a member of the ecclesiarchy. If the blood proves to be heavier, it is believed that this is because it is weighed down by the guilt of the donor's crimes, and they are condemned. The ordeal of the blade is another, which Tyrus most famously employed on the Sarcophon of Gladrinus VI. A heavy, razor-sharp sword is gripped in the fists of the potential heretic, which they must hold above their head while the Inquisitor lists the accusations leveled against them in order of severity. If they can complete this feat without dropping the blade, or its keen edge drawing blood, they have proved their innocence of the charges. If blood is spilled or the sword slips, the last spoken accusation and those remaining to be leveled are true. Miraculously, Sarkophon Hydrapasta successfully endured the ordeal for 3.5 solar hours, while Tyrus listed nearly 1,000 charges against him. There are many other types of trial and ordeal. In trial by Holy Seal, the accused has a wax tablet placed upon their outstretched palm and a hot seal is applied to it. If the skin beneath the wax is burned, this is an indication of guilt. If it is unharmed, this is an indication of the Emperor's blessing. Other times he has ordered those he is investigating to drink a jug of blessed water. If the accused cannot do so without choking or gagging, they are presumed guilty, having been unable to imbibe the holiness of the Emperor. Tyrus has also been known to use the Imperial Tarot, a divination process believed to be guided by the Emperor himself to determine innocence or guilt, literally on the turn of a card. Many are comforted by his use of such traditional methods and his staunch belief that it is the God Emperor who makes these judgments, not himself.